is the Neon Tarantino, the director Derek Dillinger.
And Katie Arquette, the leading lady of the production.
And we're live. No second takes, no reshoots.
And you're watching the Main Event Wrestling Network.
Cut.
Good morning. Hello. Welcome in for some Kayfabe coffee on the Main Event Wrestling Network. Good to be here. Good to be back. We had an off week last week. So good to be back. We are on the road. We are en route to Forbidden Door, which is happening next weekend. Eric, good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. So we're going to talk about Dynamite last night. Thought it was a solid show. Yeah. So we're going to dive into that in a little bit. But before we do, make sure you're subscribed to the Main Event Wrestling Network, Main Event _net on Twitter and Instagram. You have this little neat QR code right here in the corner, right above me. Click that, put your camera onto that. That'll send you everywhere that you need to be to find everything Main Event Wrestling Network. If you're watching on YouTube, which we hope you are, click that bell for notifications so you get updates with all our great content here. Click that thumbs up on the video. There we go. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not mad about it. That is true. Last year they had a few. They had 3 or 4. This year there are a lot of AEW versus AEW matches on Forbidden Door, and I'm okay with that. Because I do feel like the first couple years Forbidden Door happened, it was like, oh, this is really, really cool. But I feel like we just kind of see so much crossover anyway that like the lore of Forbidden Door to me is not what it was. So I'm not necessarily upset that there are more AEW versus AEW matches. This is usually the pay-per-view, while always good, and I enjoy myself. I like AEW because I like the mix of the great matches, but they have also told good stories. And I feel like Forbidden Door, there's not like, am I excited to see Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega? You're damn right I am. You're damn right I'm excited to see Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. That match is going to be incredible. But there's no story to that to me. Like I'm not invested in that match other than just a great match. And for me, like my wrestling fandom, like there are so many great wrestlers in the world, and AEW spoils us with the amount of great matches we get on a regular basis. Last night had 3 great matches, in my opinion. But I like that mix of both that AEW gives me, where I get these quality matches consistently, but I also get good stories. And Forbidden Door really isn't about the stories. It's just about super matchups, which, again, are there any out there that we really haven't seen yet? You know what I mean? Like, so this is usually the pay-per-view that I care about the least, I would say, but I care about it. So that's kind of like too negative, but hopefully you understand what I mean. That's TMDK, man. They have a group over there in Japan. That was Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nichols, who used to be in the tag team, The Mighty Don't Kneel, with oh my God, he's a champion. He just became a champion somewhere. I forget his fucking name, the other guy. That's terrible by me. But yeah, so they used to be I'm gonna have to Google his name because I don't want to be disrespectful. But TMDK, which we're gonna talk about here because the show, yeah, they were involved at the beginning. So, but let me just but yeah, so the Mighty Don't Kneel, which is TMDK, they're a group. Shane Haste, that's who it was. So Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste were a tag team called the Mighty Don't Kneel. That was their team name. Then they went to WWE for a small bit. Mikey Nichols left to go back home, and then they used Shane Haste in Retribution. He was what was his name? Damn it. I forget his name. But he had no, it wasn't Crowbar. It was something like that. He had the Jason. It was terrible. So now Zack Sabre Jr. joined in 2023, and they made it a big group called TMDK. And it's him, it's Mikey Nichols, it's Bad Dude Tito. Those were the two guys with Zack Sabre last night, were Bad Dude Tito, who fought Kenny Omega on Collision, and Mikey Nichols. And then Robbie Eagles, Kosei Fujita, Ryohei Owa, Harley Jackson are also in it. Was it? I don't think it was Crowbar. That was a wrestler in the 90s in WCW. It was one of those type of names, though. Retribution, the one that he had, because it was Mia Yim, it was Dijak, and it was Shane Haste. Slapjack, that's what it was. Slapjack. Ridiculous. But anyway. All right, we're here. Let's go. AEW Dynamite, cold open for AEW Dynamite last night, which I enjoyed. It was in a hallway somewhere, and it was Don Callis and his family with MJF. MJF starts it off. He says, that's what it looked like. They were all dressed nice. They were all, yeah. So MJF is there. He says, look at this title. Look how important it is, how great I am. And then he goes, but I got some guys that are running their mouths a little bit here, so let me address them. And he walks right over to Kevin Knight, and he says, I don't like you, but I respect you, and you remind me a lot of myself. He goes, and all of the young people in the company, you're the most likely to succeed. And then he looks at Kyle Fletcher. He looks at Andrade and laughs at him at the idea of a title shot. And then he addresses Swerve. And he says, you sound like you have Tourette's and you should drive off a cliff. And then he mentions Will Ospreay. He says, I'll break your neck. I laugh. And then he laughs and he's like, you think you're destined to win the title. And then he mentions Kenny Omega. And he says, you need to keep your big kosher pickle out of my mouth because you need to keep my big kosher pickle out of your mouth because I've wrestled God twice and I've beaten God twice. So that's going to be the match for Max at Redemption in Montreal. It's going to be Kenny and Max. That's what me thinks. So yeah. And then he starts diving in on Mark Briscoe. He goes, everybody else is on the list as a top act, a star. Briscoe, you are not. These people love you because they feel bad for you because your brother died. Unbelievable. He goes, but that's not why I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you, Mark, because you're delusional enough to think you have a chance at winning the title. And then he says, Don, tell the world who's on team DCMJF. And Callis goes, we got an all-star team, and Callis lists them off. He starts with Kevin Knight, which we knew, but he starts with Kevin Knight. Then he goes over to Kyle Fletcher. Then he says, we're adding some meat to the dinner table, and he picks Jake Doyle. And then he says the team wouldn't be complete without the great one himself, and he calls Kazuchika Okada over. And then he goes, and then the final member of the team, Andrade El Idolo. Now, a few things here. I was very noticeable to me. Before he announces the last member of the team, Trent, who was looking great, by the way, nice white suit. Trent starts like fixing his collar, and he's walking down the stairs like he is expecting Callis to pick him. That's I saw that. I was like, all right, Trent thinks that Callis is going to pick him. And then when he picks Andrade, not only is Andrade like, no, like he's like, what? Me? He's like, I don't want to do this shit. I don't like Max. But Trent gets his heart broken because Trent thought it was going to be him. And then, Max then congratulates Don on the team. Andrade shoves through, and he goes to he gets in MJF's face, and he goes, "Me team with you." He goes, "Let me ask you one question. How you know?" And then MJF looks at Callis and he goes, "Handle this," and he walks off. And then Callis basically looks at Andrade and says, "Yo, mucho dinero, like a lot of money here. So just do the match." He goes, "You're going to be a great world champion when it's your turn, but for now, do the match." And all this is happening, and Trent is at the top of this little steps there, like in no man's land, because he thought for sure he was going to get picked. So that's something to think about, maybe. Because, again, Trent is obviously a side character, but that could be a story arc of maybe getting Trent out of there and doing something else. So something to keep an eye on. We then get to ringside, and Tony Nese is in the ring. And Excalibur tells us that the Premier Athlete and the Premier Athlete brand demanded a match tonight on Dynamite, and Kenny Omega's music hits. So an unadvertised Kenny Omega Dynamite match. This was a squash match. Absolutely a squash match. I thought this might have been a little bit more competitive. But it was very, very quick. Kenny wins, does the dragon hit, he hits the thing, dragon suplex, hits a second one, V-trigger, one winged angel, over. Real easy peasy. Omega gets on the mic, or he grabs the mic, I should say, and before he can talk, we hear the music of TMDK. Zack Sabre Jr., Bad Dude Tito, and Mikey Nichols, they get down to the ring. And Kenny very smartly gets out of the ring. He's like, "I'm not going to get my ass kicked by three of you." So he gets out of the ring and he walks up the ramp. And then the Young Bucks and Jack Perry show up behind Kenny. And then Sabre kind of kicks the mic over to Kenny. Kenny introduces. Now, I must say, they were in Houston last night. I would expect more from a Houston crowd. They were dead silent for when TMDK came out. Dead silent. Now, I get it. Not everybody watches New Japan. That's fine. If you watch AEW, I am of the opinion that for the most part, you should at least know who Zack Sabre Jr. is. That's just, he seems to be a little bit of, it's fine, but I just thought that crowd was, and this part seemed a little clunky to me. It just seemed a little clunky. Like, I didn't think the promo was necessarily good. I think and there was just the crowd wasn't into it. It was I don't think it went over as well as they had hoped. But Kenny introduces them. He cracks a joke and says, "Don't ask me what it stands for, because I don't even think they know." And I'm like, "Kenny, it's the Mighty Don't Kneel, bro. They've been a thing, Come on, Kenny." He thanks Zach for coming all this way to challenge. He goes, "I got the message loud and clear. I got something you want." He goes, "Wouldn't it look good on the resume to have a big fat W over Kenny Omega?" And he goes, "But wouldn't it look good on my resume to beat you, not just for AEW, but for my home away from home, New Japan?" He goes, "We both got our boys." He goes, "But at the Pape, let's keep it one-on-one." And then he does the whole, good night, goodbye, bang, stuff like that. So fine. That was fine. I didn't think it was necessarily that good of a segment, but it was fine. That match is going to fucking rule. It's going to be unbelievable. So then we get a little recap about the War Dogs. They beat the Bucks on Collision. Now, was it all fair and square? Maybe not. But the Bucks, the Dogs just straight up beat the Bucks on Collision. So this is so we saw him attack Cope. Damn it. We saw him attack Copeland and Cage last week or a couple weeks ago. And now they just beat the Bucks. Not everybody beats the Bucks. So that was pretty good. So we saw a little thing about that. Then we get the Death Riders. It's Moxley. It's Daniel Garcia, accompanied by Marina Shafir. They make their way. They're on the through the concourse, through all that. And this was a pleasant surprise. So they go, hey, we're getting a tag team match here. And you know who answered the call? Brodito. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. First time that Brodito was teaming up since last year's Forbidden Door. So almost a full year that we hadn't seen Brodito. Awesome. Awesome. That was a nice surprise. And this match, I loved this match. You know, this match had everything. It was, at times, it was slow and plodding, and it was submissions. And Brody King, RIP. But Brody King and Moxley were chopping the shit out of each other for like half this. Oh, damn, dude. Loved it. And then Bandito, Daniel Garcia brought, the speed, the fun, the stuff you would expect. This had everything. I thought this was a great, great match. I might have opened with this match and moved the Omega segment to like the middle of the show. But this was really, really good. Back and forth. And, even though Brodito hadn't teamed in a long time, I still thought the Death Riders were going to win this match. But no. Bandito hits the 21 plex at the end of the match on Daniel Garcia. Brodito gets a big-time win. Yeah, man. This match ruled. I loved it. We then go backstage, and Proto Kata is back there. Kyle Fletcher says that we're in the 12-man tag tonight and at Forbidden Door, but don't worry, we're bringing the International Championship back to the Don Callis family. We know who's going to be standing across from them. Oh, no, he said, we don't know who's going to be standing across from them, but they know who won't be. And the camera pans out, and Tomohiro Ishii is laid out at their feet. He's grabbing his neck in pain. They kick him a few more times. And then Fletcher says, hey, Briscoe, good luck in finding partners tonight. And that was that. Then it's Tommaso Ciampa backstage, cutting a promo. He's talking about how he hates Chris Jericho. He says, I used to respect him. World-traveling Lionheart who went everywhere, did everything, won the inaugural AEW World Championship. He goes, but this Jericho in 2026, with the jokes and the desperation, the attitude, he goes, I hate every last bit of him. He goes, and if that guy's going to show up, you might as well stay home or stay out of my way. He goes, but Chris, if you still think you have it in him, if you think that I'm worthy, by all means, let's dance. He goes, the ball's in your court. Don't drop it. That tells me I would expect that Jericho and Ciampa will get added to Forbidden Door, another AEW versus AEW match. But I expect that match to be added to Forbidden Door, I would guess. So, yeah. The Dogs are backstage. Looks like they're about to make their entrance. And then all of a sudden, Copeland and Christian Cage appear like right next to them out of nowhere. They start beating them down. They're brawling backstage. They bring it out to the stage. I don't think. Yeah, I think probably I would say so. Or if you want to keep the Forbidden Door name, that's fine. If you want to keep the Forbidden Door name, that would be fine. But maybe you just, I think the expectations of Forbidden Door are still every match is AEW versus New Japan, but like, they've opened it up. Like, we know we have a Stardom, Dynamite Kid. Starlight Kid. No, is that it? Yeah. We have a Stardom person on there, right? CMLL is going to be involved. I would like to see more of what their involvement's going to be. New Japan is obviously still in. Like, it just feels like I'm totally cool with Forbidden Door, like half the card being, I don't think every match needs to be AEW versus another company. I know that's how the thing was built, but I think AEW is a different company now. So I feel like have your 3 or 4 marquee Forbidden Door-esque matches and then just have your shit. I have no problem if they kept it that way. You have 4 or 5 big time matches that are actually, AEW versus other companies' people. And then the rest of the show is filled out with your stories that you've been telling. I just find it weird that you're telling these stories, and then for a month we just stop to just tell these different stories for a month, and then we just go back to the, you know what I mean? So I think there's a better way to weave it. Yeah. So Christian and Copeland are beating the crap out of him. They bring him out to the ring. Christian is inside the ring with Clark Connors. Copeland's out with Finlay. But Finlay pulls Connors out and they leave through the crowd. Christian then gets on the mic. He says, hey, after a couple weeks ago, when we won the AEW Men's Tag Team Championships, he goes, most people were expecting us to come out here and say something unsavory about a family member. But just to put your mind at ease, even Christian Cage has standards. He goes, what I mean by that is I've never come across another tag team that's actually named after their mothers. And he goes, and if Finlay is supposed to be some kind of gift to wrestling on behalf of his father, he speaks for everyone when he says Fit Finlay should have done the world a favor and let him run down the inside of his leg. What a line. What a line. Copeland then says the Dogs have built up an impressive streak of wins. He gets them trying to make names on his and Christian's backs because they like them they were like them 30 years ago. He goes, but what they don't get is we have a learning curve. He goes, 30 years ago, we thought we had it all figured out too. And then we ran into the New Age Outlaws. And then we ran into APA. He goes, but we learned and we picked up the intangibles. He goes, so at Forbidden Door, we're going to use some old man's knowledge and old man strength and a whole lot of old man grumpiness to make sure that when the Dogs walk through that Forbidden Door into our house, they're going to walk back out housebroken little pups. Huzzah. I did like the references to the New Age Outlaws and the APA. Obviously, that's like my childhood there, so that was cool. That was cool little references by Edge and Christian. I like that angle of them being like, hey, you were the young guy. We were the young guys too once, and then we got our asses kicked by people who knew what the fuck they were doing. And we learned from it, and that's how we became what we became, and we're going to be that learning point for you. So I expect Copeland and Christian to retain and beat the Dogs. However, I do think they have made the Dogs look good here the last 2 or 3 weeks. They should have just kind of done that from the onset when they showed up, but who am I? Yeah, the venues are awesome. AEW consistently picks awesome, different, unique venues. They look great. The setup for the crowd is great. I love that aspect of it. I did think that crowd, was this the strongest Dynamite? No, but it wasn't it was a good show. And I just thought the crowd was flat. I thought the crowd was flat. They definitely got loud at times for sure. They weren't bad the whole night, but I thought they were more flat than I expected them to be. Houston's a good big city, So, but yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I thought it was a solid to good show. Okay, we then got a video. We got a promo from Starlight Kid, who called Tekla out, saying she won't forgive her disrespect of spitting on the logo of Stardom, and she's going to bring the AEW Women's World Championship back to Japan. Then we transfer to Tekla, cutting a response promo. She said that she sets the hate aside and says she went through all the same hard-living dojo stuff, but it made Starlight Kid a hero and got her rejected. She says Tony Khan says Starlight is his favorite wrestler outside of AEW. Well, she doesn't need to be anyone's favorite because she's the champion. She said, if you're mad about me spitting on the logo, just wait until I beat you, tear that mask off, and take a hot steaming. And she does the spit noise and she spits in it. She goes, so just leave that door closed because I run this place, baby. I love Tekla. Always, listen. From day one, she's impressed the shit out of me. I love her. I'm glad they're giving her more mic time because she doesn't talk like anybody else. Like her style and the vibe, like she's one of a kind on the mic. She just does it her own way. She's funny, but like an asshole. It's really good. I like Tekla. I don't know much about Starlight Kid, but people that I respect that know a lot about her say she is great. So I'm looking forward to that match. So, okay. We then come back from commercial. Brodito is being interviewed backstage. Bandito is super. He goes, I'm pumped. We're back together, getting a big win. And then Brody says, you didn't think that our singles side quest would stop us from being the best tag team in the world, did you? And then Bandito challenges Jon Moxley for the Continental Championship at Forbidden Door. Wasn't a match I was expecting, but fuck yes. Okay? Pardon my French. The Death Riders roll up. Mox is like, yo, we're good, tranquilo. We're good. He says, you want a shot at the Continental Championship? You know that means no Brody, no Death Riders, mano a mano. And Bandito says, yep. And he goes, shoot your shot, compadre. And then, Bandito does the, thing, and that's it. And then they announce it later on in the evening. It is going to be Bandito and Moxley for the Continental Championship at Forbidden Door. Yes, please. Yes, please. Then it was time for the first semifinal in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament on the women's side. It was Mercedes Moné, the CEO, taking on Hazuki. Great match. This was a really great match. I don't know much about Hazuki at all. I enjoyed her first round match that she had with Persephone. I have not seen the first one of the matches that she had with Mercedes, I think in 2024. A lot of people say that is like a really, really great match, so I'm going to have to go out of my way. That'll be fun. I liked what I saw last night. This was a really great match. As is to be expected with Mercedes, but this was really, really good. This was another one of those matches that had everything. There was a lot of striking back and forth. There was submission. They were all hitting fast. This just was like a well-rounded match. There was a lot of feeling out at first. They were trading the... Yeah. They were trading off, feeling each other out to start the match. Hazuki hit a really great head scissor early on in the match. Then they go to outside. They come back, and Mercedes hits a tombstone code breaker, which was really nice. She was grinding Hazuki's throat on the rope for a little bit, which was really good. It's kind of slowing everything down. Hazuki at one point hit a code breaker off the top rope, the turnbuckles, which spiked Mercedes on the mat, which was really, really good. There was a big senton, which looked gnarly. I thought Mercedes sold the hell out of it, kicking her legs the way she was doing. It was really, really good. Looked like she landed pretty solid there, which was really good. Then they started trading elbows on their knees, and it got faster and faster and faster. And then Hazuki won that exchange. She hits a DDT but Mercedes kicks out. Brain Buster was really, really good. She hit on Mercedes. Then they go back and forth. She gets her into Mercedes, kind of gets back control, hits the statement maker. Hazuki rolls into a pin. Nope. Just really, really good stuff. And then eventually Mercedes hits the statement maker, gets her into the statement maker again, and she wins by submission. Mercedes Moné, the first finalist on the women's side of the Owen Memorial Tournament. And then on Saturday, we will find out her opponent on Collision, as Maya World will be going up against Athena. My prediction would be Athena. It would be a great story for Maya World with everything she's been dealing with. It would be a fun story, but I mean, yeah, it's not going to not be Athena and Mercedes. Like, let's not be crazy. All right, y'all. This face-off with Ospreay and Swerve was unbelievable. I really, really enjoyed this a lot. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk a lot about what they said, so bear with me. But I thought that this was the best part of the show. This was just really, really good. Really, really good. Shivani's in the ring. He welcomes out Ospreay. He congratulates Will Ospreay, which congratulations to Will Ospreay and Alex Windsor. Got married over the weekend. So congrats to both of them. And Ospreay thanks everyone for the messages. He goes, I'm meant to be on my honeymoon, but the wife said, hey, I know how much this tournament means to you. I know how much this dream means to you. We can go to Hawaii whenever we want. Go live your dream. And the crowd claps. And he goes, I got a good wife. And he goes, and you know how I treated her? By taking her upstairs and smashing the life out of her. And then he said, babe, clean yourself up. I got to go to Houston. Tremendous. And then he starts dancing around the ring and all that fun stuff. And then, so good. That was a little funny thing. And then Tony introduces Swerve. Swerve comes out. Prince Nana says, Tony, that suit is way too tight. Get the hell out of my ring. Get the hell out of my ring. And then Swerve grabs the mic. And he says, he goes, what's up, Will? He goes, almost a year. No text, no phone call. He goes, but I've been keeping an eye on you. I don't like what I'm seeing. He goes, you've changed. And then Ospreay in response is like, what's changed? He goes, I still dress the same. He goes, my hair's a little better. He goes, my hair's a little better. He goes, but something's changed about you. He goes, it's not your wardrobe. It's not Nana. He goes, do we have a problem or something? He goes, do we need to have a chat? And Swerve goes, yeah, we do have a problem. He goes, everything we fought for last year to fight off the Death Riders. And now you're palling around with Moxley. You're playing booty boot camp in the back, like you're having fun with these guys. And he goes, and the funniest thing is you haven't given an explanation about it. He goes, I don't know. Your friends don't know. Your wife doesn't even know. And then Swerve congratulates him and he goes, you changed, man. And then Ospreay says, I didn't forget what the Death Riders did to me. And trust me, I haven't forgiven them either. He goes, I just had to let it go. I just had to let it go and accept help. And they're my training partners now, and the training is working. He goes, my neck feels great. My ground game is improving. And he goes, and seeing that you're talking about that night in London when they snapped my neck, I got a question to ask you. He goes, that night, I saw Kenny Omega trying to get into the cage. He goes, I saw the Ops trying to get into that cage. He goes, Darby Allin. He goes, that geezer can climb Mount Everest, but he can't climb a cage. He goes, but you know who I didn't see that night, even though he was backstage, was you. He goes, I didn't see you. He goes, I can't be too mad. You did blow out your knee. You blew out your meniscus. You know, I get it. He goes, but when I was at home, my neck was messed up. I could barely hold anything. I started thinking about where it all started at All in Texas. We teamed up. We took the Young Bucks out, and then Hangman needed help, and I went and helped and ended up in the hospital. He goes, I rewatched the footage. I saw that you came out to help. And I go, and he says, maybe I'm on an island here. He goes, but if you say you're my brother and you love me, I expect you to run through a brick wall for me because I would do the same for you. So I'm going to ask you, where were you and why didn't you help? Because the story for a year, Ospreay lost in the finals last year. The story for a year has been Will winning the title in England. It's going to be Will. It's going to be Will. So I understand what you're saying. I love Swerve too. I actually prefer Swerve to Ospreay. So I understand what you're saying, Eric. But the story is Will winning the title in London in front of his people. That's been the story since All In of last year. Even before that. That's been the story since the Owen of last year. This is Will's moment, and it's a deserving moment. And yeah, I mean, now the question is, which we'll dive into over the next month or so, is it going to be Will versus MJF? I personally think it should be, because I think it's more impactful for him to beat MJF for the title. However, I do expect Kenny Omega to fight MJF at Redemption in Montreal. Will and Kenny have a history. They had that promo on the doctor's table, the trainer's table a couple of weeks ago. I could see Kenny sneaking in there, but we got to see if Will can make it to All In first. So he asked Swerve, why didn't you help? And then Swerve is going to answer, and Ospreay slaps the mic out of his hand. And he goes, I don't need to hear what you're going to have to say. He goes, because for any points, he goes, Forbidden Door is bigger than both of us. He goes, and it's bigger than any answer. He goes, I get it. This is your redemption, Swerve. He goes, but this is my dream. He goes, I used to work at building sites outside Wembley, and I'd watch football fans walking in. He goes, school teachers would ask every 14-year-old boy what they want to do when they grow up, and everyone would say they want to kick the game-winning goal at Wembley. And he goes, and I'm so close to kicking that goal. He goes, it's the finals of the Owen, but it's the semifinals of my World Cup. And Swerve is standing in the way of my dream and my country's dream. And he goes, and I know you won't hesitate to end my dream, so I'm not going to hesitate to end you. And then Swerve grabs like Will's hand and brings him in, and he says, not if I do it first. He goes, last year I had to stand here and listen to you say it wasn't my time, that it was Hangman's time. And I agreed. And I stood and I fought with you to get the title off of Moxley. And serious question, where's Hangman now? Eric, you asked the question. I wonder where Swerve goes from here. Mentioned Hangman a lot in here, didn't he? Just a thought. Certainly did. That's also a good point. I could see that happening as well, Peggy. That would actually be a really good spot for him. But I could see him going after Takeshita as well, and that title. Swerve's going to be more than fine. Swerve will be world champion at some point, probably next year. Like, he's going to be, Swerve is one of one. He goes, where's Hangman now? He goes, I can't get a hold of him. I know you can't get a hold of him. He can't even challenge for the world title anymore. He goes, all our work was for nothing. And he goes, and now you expect me to step aside so you can have a nice path to Wembley? And then he got censored. I don't know what he said here. It got censored for me. But Excalibur apologized for the language. So I don't know if somebody was watching where it didn't get censored or somebody's seen it. I don't know what he said here. But it was obviously something that wasn't allowed to be on TBS. And the crowd reacted. So I assume it was a swear or a derogatory statement about somebody or whatever. But he said something that got censored. He said, I'm done stepping aside for other people to get opportunities that I deserve. He goes, when I was world champion, I had to let veterans and legends step on my time, and I had to sit home for 6 weeks because fragile, punk-ass egos got to talking. Those are some words right there. That is true. Dynamite was just in Virginia, like what, last week, 2 weeks ago? I thought maybe. Does he come back at All In? I feel like he's due back. It's been since, it's been a while. Is that official? Did they just announce it? Is that an official statement? It was to be expected. It was to be expected. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see his comment. Yeah. No, Santana's going to go to WWE. No question. But anyway, sorry. He goes, I'm not letting it go again for anybody, not even Will. He goes, I've made a career of throwing Molotov cocktails at the system, and I'm good at it, and so are you. He goes, every time we step in the ring together, there's fireworks. He goes, but one thing's been certain every time. I beat you. He goes, you haven't been able to beat me in 10 years. He goes, even in 2024, when you had this tidal wave coming into the company, you couldn't beat me. He goes, so when I beat you and go on to win the title at Wembley, maybe then you can challenge me for it. But I'll beat you again and again and again and again. He goes, because right now, this Will Ospreay isn't better than him on my worst day with your fragile ass neck. And that caused Will to snap. And he punches Swerve. And Swerve falls to the ground. Nana then gives Swerve his chain. And it looks like Swerve's ready to get up and start beating Will's ass. The Death Riders music hits. They come through the crowd. Swerve leaves. End of segment. This shit was fantastic. That whole segment, the story going back a year, that right there was in just really, really incredible writing, just booking. Those two guys nailed it. That match at Forbidden Door is going to be, man, that is probably going to be the match of the night. I know we can all determine, we all know who's going to win. It's going to be Will. It's going to be Will. But I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter. That match is going to be, no, they already said that the cage match is main eventing. The cage match is main, at least last week when I'm pretty sure the 6-on-6 cage match is the main event. So I don't think you want to have one of the Owen finals main event because I think that demeans the other. That match was awesome, Eric. That was the best match on the show. They got the 9:00 slot, which was nice too. They didn't get stuck in the 9:30, which was nice, and they gave them time and they deserved it. That match was very good. All right. Jericho's backstage. He says, Ciampa, Saturday night on Collision, we should meet in the ring and get serious face-to-face. So we're going to get that. Like I said, I expect that match to be added to Forbidden Door. So they'll have a face-to-face, and that'll be that. We come back from commercial, and Daniel Garcia and Will Ospreay are walking in the back. And ever? Or on Dynamite? I don't doubt it. That was a very long match, and that should have been. I'm telling you, if it's Athena and Mercedes at the pay-per-view, which it will be, they should get a half hour. Go do your thing. But Daniel Garcia is walking with Will. He keeps on asking Will what he's going to do about Swerve, calling him fragile, and Will grabs Daniel Garcia and like pushes him up against something. And Garcia's being cool. He's like, yeah, all right. Like he knows Will's just angry. And Moxley walks over. He goes, you feel like you're in control right now? And Ospreay says, no. And Moxley goes, it's just words, dude. Words can't hurt you. When Moxley I keep on thinking I'm sick of Jon Moxley. Like when Jon Moxley won the Continental Classic, it was not who I wanted to win. I thought it should have been Takeshita, and I was bummed. And then within weeks, I was like, okay, I love this Moxley title run. And then when it starts to feel like it might be kind of to get stale, they do something like I'm just never not interested in Jon Moxley. Like he's just, just one of the best wrestlers in the world. It's just, he's just incredible. It's unbelievable. He goes, they use words. They have absolutely nothing else to use. He goes, and you're so close, Will. He goes, don't lose control or focus. It's just words. And then Daniel Garcia is like, yeah. And then Will lets go and walks off, and Moxley kind of shoves Garcia like, come on. It was good. This was the little good segment. And then MJF is making his way to the ring. The Callis family are in tow. And then we see Mark Briscoe on the Tron on the screen. He calls MJF a greasy little bitch. And he says he's heard people say he's not world champ material my whole life, but that just gives him motivation to bust through that glass ceiling. He goes, while you were playing hide the pickle, the Don Callis family, he's been conglomerating real hard, and his usual three pals are the core of his team. It was Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Orange Cassidy. And then Kyle O'Reilly informs him that Tony Khan has announced that if anyone gets disqualified tonight, they're out of Forbidden Door. So that was a nice little wrinkle to add before this. And Briscoe says that interferes with my plan to beat the holy hell out of MJF. And then he goes, but anyway, I got some friends. And he goes, the first one has a little problem with Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita. Awesome. So Takeshita comes out. He says, Kyle Fletcher, I don't like you. Okada, I hate you. And then he goes, and then my last teammate to round out the team has had a problem with Kevin Knight recently. That is Darby Allin. And then Darby Allin says, we're going to beat their ass tonight. And then they make their way. And we have ourselves our main event, 12-man tag. It was Darby Allin, Takeshita, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong versus Andrade, Jake Doyle, Okada, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, and MJF. I mean, listen. Star-studded affair. Star-studded affair. And this was a fun match. You know, nobody could get DQ'd, so it didn't get too crazy. It was fast-paced and everybody hitting their shit like we all know AEW leans in on and does. But this was good. This was good. At one point, Takeshi did a huge dive. He did a tope con hero into everybody. That was cool. Roderick Strong had a good segment in this match where he came in there and he was just taking out everybody and hitting everybody with backbreakers and all this stuff to the point where even Callis put him on. Like Excalibur said something like, man, Roderick Strong is just, and even Don Callis was like, he's a joy to watch. That's how you know. And that's what I appreciate about Callis is he's such a such a slime ball. But when he's on commentary, he'll put over the good guys sometimes. Like he'll say how great of a wrestler they are. Or like he'll say a little one-liner like that, which is like him putting over Roddy. I do appreciate that about Callis. Darby hit Jake Doyle with a coffin drop at one point earlier in this match. At one point in the match, I thought something was very intriguing where Kyle Fletcher and Kevin Knight got into a shoving match. Very cool. That was a good spot too, Eric. Yeah, that was a good spot. Fletcher is trying to beat up someone. And yeah, that was also a good part. I'm sure you love that, Kyle. At one point, it was O'Reilly and Fletcher in the ring, and they had, crowd started chanting, Kyle, let's go, Kyle. So that was funny. Is today your birthday, right? Is that, am I true? Did we spoil the headline? Today is Kyle's birthday. Happy birthday, man behind the curtain. Hopefully you don't have to go to work, like real work today. And you can just enjoy the day. The U.S. Open is on. We got the World Cup. I'm going to get off topic here for a second. Guys, I can't tell you how much I am enjoying this World Cup. It is very refreshing to see people actually like enjoying America, which is nice. Plenty of reasons not to. But can I tell you how refreshing it is to turn on the news? And just see people like in in Boston, in my city, loving Boston. The Scots have rejuvenated the city of Boston, and we needed it because let me tell you, the Red Sox suck. And it was feeling like if you were a sports fan in Boston, it was going to be a dreadful summer. But the World Cup and these Scottish and the Norwegians too. I don't want to forget them. But the Boston ran out of beer over the weekend. The whole city ran out of beer. Boston. That's a nice little ring. I like that. That's That's a nice little ring to it right there. But it is very refreshing. I think it is very refreshing. Big game tomorrow, USA and Australia. The winner of that game is going to be in the driver's seat to win the group. The USA has never won a group in the World Cup. If they were to win a group, and I know this is, like everything in sports nowadays, it's watered down and they had to add more teams because participation. They had to add more teams than ever and more groups than ever because, but still, for the U.S. to potentially win their first ever group, that would be fun. That would be fun. But anyway, happy birthday, Kyle. Happy birthday. But yeah, no, great main event. Yeah, Roddy Strong comes in. He's hitting Olympic slams on people. He's hitting backbreakers galore. Everybody looked good in this match. Orange Cassidy had a couple nice segments in this match. Andrade looked excellent. Jake Doyle looked like a powerhouse in this match. Good to see him back and healthy. Darby did his typical Darby stuff. Okada hit a big-time tombstone, and he was getting all his stuff in. Him and Takeshita had a couple back and forths with each other, which was nice. Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita also had a good thing. Briscoe, obviously, they made look good. This was just, as you would expect in a multi-person match with AEW, it was great. It was great. We get to the end. They had the Jake Doyle segment where he chucked Darby into the post that Eric mentioned, which was awesome. And then MJF has Mark lined up for a heat seeker. It's blocked. And then he hits the J Driller. But then Callis distracts the referee to keep him from counting the pin. Fletcher comes in. Roderick Strong tags in. End of Heartache. But Max lands the armbar takedown to counter. And he wins by submission with the salt of the earth, getting Roderick Strong to tap out. And that is how the main event ended. However, that was not the end of the show, because post-match, the heels are all beating down the baby faces. Callis gets up from commentary. Andre El Idolo tries to get MJF's attention. He goes, but Max is really focused on Briscoe. He wants to hit Briscoe with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and he's telling Andrade to lift Briscoe up, and Andrade's like, no. And MJF's like, help him up, and Andrade's like, no. They're getting in each other's face. And then Andrade refuses to help him out unless we get a promise that he'll get a match for the title. Callis tells him to do it. And eventually Andrade picks up Briscoe, holds him up. MJF lays him out with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He goes to the top rope. He kisses the ring. And that is it. And that is how the show went off the air. So again, solid show. Not every show is going to be a humdinger. But this was a solid show. It had some great matches. I thought the main event was a lot of fun. I thought Hazuki and Mercedes was the match of the night. But I love the Brodito Moxley Garcia match was a whole hell of a lot of fun. This was a good show. Yeah. How you know?
I have one question for you. How you know?
Never mind. Yeah. How you know? How you know? Stay tuned. Well, do this first. Yes. Main Event _net, Twitter, Instagram, Main Event Wrestling Network, everywhere. Go follow us. We're on the road to 400 subscribers. So go give us a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. It helps share out the video more. Click that bell for notification. We have great content throughout the week, every week, here on the Main Event Wrestling Net. I'm here every Thursday, or I should say mostly every Thursday, with Kayfabe Coffee for AEW Dynamite. On Tuesdays, my man, the Great Brown Hope, and Tino just announced Tino joining him where they recap Raw on Kayfabe Coffee. We got mixers. Next weekend, we got mixers galore, 4 of them. I'll be on the Forbidden Door one Sunday afternoon. But we got mixers previewing all the shows next weekend, as that is a massive weekend of shows next week. And then we have all sorts of stuff. We got the night shift after NXT on Tuesdays. We got On the Mark Thursdays tonight. That's what we got, stuff all the time here, people. So give us a follow, subscribe, do yourself a favor. I hopped on a recording last night with the boys on the Ope 3-way. My ass was late 25 minutes because apparently I don't know how to tell time zones apart. But you know, I hopped on there. We had a hot take palooza. That was a lot of fun. That'll be coming your way. Then that was the first ever recording they did for here on the Main Event Wrestling Net. Those are some good boys. Me and Pluggo have been friends with them for a long time. I think you're going to like those fellas. So I hopped on for that show, which will be coming out soon here on the Main Event Wrestling Net. But yes, go do that. Follow us here. Support the cause. Do all that fun stuff. You can follow me at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, not right here on the Main Event Wrestling Network, but over on Love Wrestling, me and Pluggo, Between Two Beards, the flagship show over at Love Wrestling. Come by, check us out tonight. LPW, Love Pro Wrestling, the independent wrestling company based out of Edmonton, that is part of Love Wrestling. That's who we work for. We have our biggest show ever this weekend that we are doing. We're going to have Judge Ben Omen, the head referee, joining us tonight. Oh, well, there we go. There is no On the Mark tonight. So everybody should be watching Between Two Beards tonight. Everybody. But we're going to have Judge Ben Omen, who is the head referee of Love Pro Wrestling. He's going to be joining us for a little bit to preview LPW 49 this weekend, and then we're obviously going to be talking about all things happening in AEW and WWE. So give me a follow. Go follow Beards. Next Thursday, be on the lookout for some, what I was going to say. So I have to shoot job work next Thursday. However, I think it's actually late. There's a good chance it's later in the day. I should know by the end of the weekend. So I think I'll be here. Might have to be an earlier start than usual, maybe, but I think I'll be here for some Kayfabe coffee next Thursday, previewing Forbidden Door and talking about next week's go-home show of Dynamite. If there are any changes and I can't, obviously we will announce it. So just be on the lookout on the socials. But as of now, I think we should be having Kayfabe next week. If not, maybe if Kyle's available, maybe Kyle takes over for the day, and then I'm back. I shouldn't be missing any Thursdays after. It's just end of the year fiscally where I work, so there's just a bunch of bullshit going on. So that's why last week, potentially next week, that shoot job life. That's why you should subscribe. So give me all the human monies so I don't have to do that anymore. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Peggy, love you. Great Brown Hope. Kyle, happy birthday. Eric, appreciate you all. I will most likely see you next Thursday for Kayfabe and Coffee. Till then, thank you for watching the Main Event Wrestling Network. We will see you real soon.
What up, though? You already know what it is. Best in the world, a.k.a. The Problem. Isaiah Broner. And you watching the Main Event Wrestling Network.